Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Planning and Development Advisory Committee meeting for February the 8th. We'll start first with the roll call. So Paul Cedra,
Present.
Dan Kennedy,
Present.
Dennis O'Connor,
Present.
Steve Bassi,
Present.
and John Sapulson present as well. Welcome to the virtual meeting. There will be two meetings tonight, one being the Committee of Adjustment and the second being the Advisory Committee. There'll be three minor variance applications for us to consider as part of the Committee of Adjustment, and there'll be one consent for the Advisory Committee to provide comments to the county. Please note that the meeting is video and audio recorded, and all electronic meetings are uploaded to the municipality's YouTube page. By registering to participate in meeting by electronic means, you are consenting to have your likeness and comments recorded and posted on YouTube. Okay, let's move on to next item, number 4, disclosure of pecuniary interest. Lynn, did we receive any disclosure of pecuniary interest?
No, Mr. Chair, I did not.
And gentlemen, does anyone have any?
No.
No.
Thank you. So let's move on to item number 5, approval of minutes of January the 11th, 2022. Do I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Dennis, second by Dan. All in favor? Paul?
In favor?
Dan?
In favor.
Dennis?
In favor?
Steve?
In favor.
And I'm in favor as well. Okay, so the purpose of this hearing is to inform and provide the public with the opportunity to ask questions or express their views with respect to minor variance application before us. The township requests that you please notify the secretary treasurer of the committee by email at lbanks@pustons.ca if you wish to be on record and would like to be notified of future hearings and decisions regarding the application. So in attendance at this meeting is our clerk, Courtney Hortfox, our secretary treasurer, Lynn Banks, and county planning staff, Joanna Salzberg, and Zach Prince, I believe, is someplace in the background. So let's move on to minor number 6, application for minor variance or permission or section 45 of Planning Act. So the format of the hearings will be staff will present information report, specifically outline the purpose of the application, summarizing compliance with the township notification and submission requirements, and outlining staff comments, agency comments, and public comments of those who cannot attend. Then we'll have the applicant or agent present the purpose and details of the application and any further relevant information. Following that, the public can obtain questions, rather clarification, ask questions, or express views on the proposal. You'll have a maximum of 10 minutes to speak. Following this, the members of the committee can also obtain clarification, ask questions of the applicant or agent, and then the item will be taken into the committee for deliberation and rendering a decision. The decision will be subject to a 20-day appeal period. So we'll move on to the first one. 6A, minor application D13-ODE, Philip and Pamela Odell, 6615 Concession 1, Gore Rear Part Lot 5, Township Puslinch, requesting relief of new comprehensive zoning bylaw 23-2018 as amended from section 14.0, site-specific special provision number 94. The purpose of the and effect of the application is to provide relief from section 14.0 site-specific special provision number 94 to permit the reduced setback to be 30 meters instead of 60 meters as required. And we'll turn it over to Lynn.
Notice of the application was given in accordance with the provisions of the Planning Act. Notice requirements for the application have been met and the following comments were received. Township of Puslinch Fire Services had no concerns. The GRCA commented that they reviewed the proposal as part of the zoning bylaw amendment D14/ODE submitted in 2018. Based on the information provided, the proposed development is set back approximately 30 meters from the wetland. As a result, GRCA staff does not anticipate any negative impacts on the regulated feature. As a result of this application, please note that any future development or alteration within regulated areas of the subject lands will require prior written approval from the GRCA in the form of a permit pursuant to Ontario Regulation 150/06. The proposed development is within the regulated allowance to the wetland and will require GRCA permit. And Sourcewater said, since the property is located in a vulnerable area, but the activities as indicated would not create a significant drinking water threat, the application can be screened out and does not require Section 59 notice under the Clean Water Act.
Thank you. Courtney, would you please put the drawing on the screen and ask the owner or applicant to join the panelists to present their application?
Mr. Chair, we do have, it looks like Mr. Odell here with us.
Great, thank
Yes,
you.
I'm present.
Okay, Mr. Odell, would you please state your name and address for the record?
Certainly. Philip Odell, address 6615 Concession 1, Puslinch, Ontario. This is my property that is the subject of the application. My wife Pamela is also in attendance.
Okay, sure. Would you please present your application?
Certainly. The drawing illustrates the approved zoning A69 that you had referred to. And the original setback was indicated at 60 meters because of a requirement from Natural Resources Canada. This was discussed with the township and with the county planning when the original zoning application was made. It was also discussed with GRCA, and the area that was proposed for the building was agreed by all parties as the area that was acceptable to everyone and that would work for us. The original setback was a Natural Resources Canada requirement of a setback from a traveled road. And in the time since we made the application, Natural Resources Canada has reviewed all of their requirements. This relates to a magazine license. And part of the application is a warehouse for our business. One of the items that we stock is small arms ammunition and binary targets. And those items were previously controlled under a different category by Natural Resources Canada. Because of evolution of technology and experience, Natural Resources Canada has realized that many of the setbacks that they had previously had in place no longer were applicable, or no longer were appropriate to the actual practical needs. And they have changed in the past 2 years through COVID. They've had the chance to review all of their rules and regulations, and they have reviewed the category that we have. And in both cases, they reduced the setback to 0 meters. So they actually no longer have any form of setback required. So from a safety perspective, had we been making this application today, that 60-meter setback never would have been mentioned. Now, in speaking with the township, it is their goal to maintain a green space and a green belt along the road. And I fully in compliance, in agreement with that. I like the nature of the property. It's our intention to keep a green space along the road. And so we did not ask for a 0 setback. We thought that a 30-meter setback would be a reasonable. It allows us to move the building closer to the road, and it allows us to move the functional part of the building to the south side, which is away from the road, which will provide less visual impact, if you will, anyone coming by, though the nature of the property is such that it is actually higher in the front, so it provides some degree of shelter already. The idea of moving it closer also was met with a positive response when I spoke to GRCA, because it moves everything further away. The GRCA, the closest corner is the southwest corner. It's the bottom left as you look at the drawing. Now it's the bottom left of the angled line, not the perpendicular line to the road. And so we would be moving further away from that corner, which moves us further away from the wetland. We do not have any outdoor storage. We do not have any actual processing on site. It's purely a warehouse building. And that's why I believe GRCA is perfectly comfortable with us doing this. And in fact, this makes them happier, if you will, in that everything moves further away from the wetland. And it gives us much nicer room and approach. And it places the building more or less in the center of the zone, the amended zone A69. So it makes approach and movement of vehicles in and around the building easier, and in most cases, again, less visible from the road. I think that summarizes everything. Is there anything in particular that I can answer for council?
What we'll do right now, Phil, is ask the public if they have any questions, and then we'll turn over to the committee members.
Certainly.
Okay, so this is the public opportunity. Then are there any registrants who requested to speak?
Mr. Chair, there are not.
Okay, Courtney, would you please canvass the audience, see if there's any participant who would like to speak to this item?
Just ask any attendees that wish to make a comment to use the raise your hand feature at the bottom of your screen. Mr. Chair, I don't see any hands being raised.
Okay, so let's turn it over to the committee now. We'll start with Paul. Do you have any questions?
No, I'm okay. Thank you. I'm good on this.
Okay. Dan?
The only question I had was you did mention that this was going to be a warehouse building. Will
Yes,
there
sir.
ever be any manufacturing here of any sort?
No, the furthest extent we do in manufacturing is we do some warranty service, but no, we don't do any manufacturing on site.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
No
Dennis?
problem.
I'm good. Good presentation.
Thank you.
Okay. Deep?
I'm good with this. Thank you.
Okay, so Lynn, would you please read out the conditions that staff have put forward?
Certainly, the proposed conditions are that the proposed building is adequately screened from concession 1 to the satisfaction of the township. The second is that the relief is applicable to the proposed new 2-story building only. And 3, that the applicant meets any requirements from Natural Resources Canada.
Okay, I'll just go around the table to make sure that nobody has any items to add or change to the conditions. So Paul?
No, I'm okay. Thank you.
Okay, Dan?
No, I'm good with this. Thanks.
Dennis?
I'm good.
Deep?
I'm good.
Okay, so let's do the formal process. Again, we either approve, deny, or defer, and approve with the following conditions. So we'll start with the matter of Section 45 of Planning Act and as amended, a new comprehensive zoning bylaw 23-2018 from Section 14.0 site-specific special provisions number 94 as amended, and an application for a minor variance requesting relief to reduce the front yard setback to be 30 meters instead of 60 meters as required. So it's approved, or denied, or it's deferred or approved with the conditions as mentioned by Lynn. So we'll start going around the table. Paul?
Approved.
With the conditions?
Yes, with the conditions.
Okay. Dan?
Yes, approved with the conditions.
Okay, Dennis?
Approved with the conditions.
And Deep?
Approved with conditions.
And I approve it as well. Okay, and it's subject to a 20-day appeal period. Okay, we're done.
Thank you very
Thank
much,
you.
John. Very much appreciate it. And to the council and the committee members, thank you for your time. We really appreciate it. And the staff has been fantastic through this. So we had a lot of help. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. So let's move on to the next item. 6B, minor variance application D13 SAJ Dusan and Sonia Sajik, 73 Heritage Lake Drive, WVLCP 172 Level 1, Unit 14, Township of Puslinch, requesting relief of new comprehensive zoning bylaw 23-2018 as amended from section 14, site-specific special provision number 31. The purpose and effect of the application is to provide relief from 1, section 14.0, site-specific special provision number 31 to permit a reduced rear yard setback of 6 meters instead of 7.5 meters as required. 2, section 14.0, site-specific special provision number 31 to permit a maximum lot coverage of 24% instead of 20% as required. Okay, Lynn, would you please summarize the application, notification, and submission requirements outlining staff and agency comments and recommendations, as well as public comments of those who cannot attend?
Notice of the application was given in accordance with the provisions of the Planning Act. Notice requirements for the application have been met and the following comments were received. The Township of Puslinch Fire Services had no concerns. The GRCA's comment in part is the GRCA approved a permit to construct a residential accessory structure on the subject property in January 25th, 2022. This minor variance application pertains to the same development project. GRCA staff do not anticipate any negative impacts to the floodplain as a result of this minor variance application. And we have no objection to the approval of the application by the Township of Puslinch. Due to the presence of the above noted features, a portion of the subject property is regulated by the GRCA under Ontario Regulation 150/06. Any future development or site alteration in the regulated area on the subject property will require a permit from the GRCA pursuant to Ontario Regulation 150/06. And Source Water's comments were, this property is not located in a vulnerable area. Therefore, the application can be screened out and does not require Section 59 notice under the Clean Water Act.
Thank you. Courtney, would you please have the owner applicant join the panelists to present their application and have the drawing put on the board, on the screen rather?
Hello, I'm Jeff Buseman here. I just want to be sure I'm seen.
Yes, yes, you are here. Thank you, Jeff. Would you please state your name and address and present the application?
Okay, my name is Jeff Buseman. I'm with Van Harten Surveying. Our office is at 423 Woolwood Street in Guelph. I'm representing the owner of this property. The application is here before the committee because the owner would like to construct an enclosed shelter over the swimming pool. That enclosed structure counts as building coverage. So the variance is primarily for the increased coverage, so that the coverage will now be 24% instead of 20. Also, the variance for the rear yard setback to be 6 meters instead of 7.5. You can see the one corner of that addition, just the way it is 6 meters at that one point, and the minimum normally is 7.5. As already mentioned, GRCA has reviewed it and approved, issued a permit in their respect for this construction. We consider it minor in nature, and planning support has been positive and supportive of this application. There have been 2 others in this development where we've had small increases in percentage coverage as well. The other thing to note is that there's an exclusive use area behind the property that's sort of, used by the property, and that is not included in the percentage coverage, although it may appear to be part of that property on the site. anyways, any questions or comments, I'd be happy to answer them. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Great, thank you. Let's turn it over to the public. Lynn, are there any registrants who requested to speak?
No, Mr. Chair, I have not received any requests.
And Courtney, would you please canvass the audience to see if there's anybody who would like to speak?
If any attendees would like to make a comment, if you could just use the raise your hand feature, it's just at the bottom of your screen. Mr. Chair, I don't see any hands being raised.
Okay, let's turn it over to the committee members now to ask the questions. We'll start with you, Paul,
No questions. I'm good. Thank you.
Dan,
Jeff, is the condo corporation okay with this? This is a condo corporation.
Yes, it is a condo corp. That's a good question. I don't think the condo, I don't know how much the corporation actually gets involved in these. I've never, we've done this now 2 or 3 times, minor variance in this condo. And it's not like we have to seek their permission. You know what I mean? It's not I don't think it's in contravention. I don't think we need the condo's support for this to happen. I truthfully don't know.
I don't either. I was just curious. So,
Yeah,
other than that,
good
I'm okay
question.
with it. Yeah.
hey, Dennis,
Oh, I'm good as well. Thank you.
Deep,
I'm okay with this as well.
okay, and I'm okay as well. Right now, there are no conditions. So I'll read the document out. And the matter of section 45 of the Planning Act as amended, new comprehensive zoning bylaw 23-2018 from section 14.0 site-specific special provisions number 31 as amended, an application for a minor variance requesting relief to permit the following. 1, to permit a reduced yard setback of 6.0 meters instead of 7.5 meters as required. 2, to permit a maximum lot coverage of 24% instead of 20% as required. So we're either approving it, denying it, or deferring it. So we'll start with you, Paul.
Approved.
Dan,
Approved.
Dennis,
Approved.
Deep,
Approved.
and I, John Sepulveda, approve this as well. So this is subject to a 20-day appeal period. Okay, great. Thank you, Jeff. So we'll move on to
Thank you.
item 6C, minor variance application D13 SAI, Kamaljit and Taro Chan Saini and Gurinder Saini, 9 Hume Road, concession 10, part line 11, Township of Puslinch, requesting relief of new comprehensive zoning bylaw 23-2018 as amended from section 4.16.1 MDS 1, non-farm uses. The purpose and effect of this application is to provide relief from section 4.16.1 MDS 1, new non-farm uses to permit a reduced MDS 1 setback from the livestock at 4726 Watson Road South to the severed parcel to be 260 meters instead of 392 meters as required. Okay, Lynn, would you please summarize application notification requirements and submission requirements, outlining staff, agency comments and recommendations, as well as public comments of those who could not attend?
Notice of the application was given in accordance with the provisions of the Planning Act. Notice requirements for the application have been met and the following comments were received. Township of Puslinch Fire Services had no concerns. The GRCA's comments were, we note that the GRCA previously commented on consent application B 120-18 pertaining to the subject property, which proposed severing the property for residential development. An environmental impact study was completed in support of the severance, and the study was subsequently reviewed and accepted by GRCA staff. Due to the presence of the above noted wetland and associated allowance, most of the subject property is regulated by the GRCA under Ontario Regulation 150/06. Any future development or site alteration on the regulated area of the subject property, will also require a permit from the GRCA pursuant to Ontario Regulation 150-06. And Source Water's comments were, since this property is located in a vulnerable area, but the activities as indicated would not create a significant drinking water threat, the application can be screened out and does not require Section 59 notice under the Clean Water Act.
Great, thank you. Courtney, would you please have the owner applicant join the panelists to present the application?
Jeff Buseman here again to represent the applicant. So this application is for a variance for the MDS to the barn that's across the road and to the south. This was, as mentioned earlier, a severance put on hold while environmental impact study was completed, and that was done and positively received by the GRCA. And the severance was conditionally approved, subject to conditions, one of which is this zoning confirmation and also conformance, and also just that we deal with the MDS. You can see that we're asking for 260 meters compared to 392 to the barn that's across the road. You'll note, maybe you recall not that long ago, we had another minor variance application of a similar nature for the same barn, but to the north, where you can see the word not traveled road to a severance just north, just there. At that time, the variance requested 291 meters because that was the distance from that barn to that severance. So this one's asking for 260, so it's not that much different. Planning staff have written a positive report and supportive of it and indicates that it meets the 4 tests of the variance. This is, if you're familiar with MDS, where there's a type A and a type B type of scenario. This, the measurement, the required distance of 392 is on the more stringent type B scenario. If this was a type A scenario, we would be meeting MDS. I'm happy to answer any questions or address any comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we'll turn it over to the public. Lynn, are there any registrants who requested to speak?
No, Mr. Chair, I did not receive any requests.
Okay, Courtney, would you please canvass the audience and see if there's any attendees who would wish to speak?
If any attendees looking to make a comment could just use the raise your hand feature just at the bottom of your screen. Mr. Chair, I don't see any hands being raised.
Okay, so let's turn it over to the committee members. We'll start with Paul. Do you have any questions of the applicant or planning staff?
No, I'm okay on this. Thank you.
Thank you. Dan, do you have any questions of the applicant or planning staff?
No questions.
Dennis, likewise?
No, I'm good. It's in line with what we decided before.
Okay, Deep?
No questions.
Okay, I have no questions as well. So let's go through the actual application. There are no conditions on this one. And we'll start with the exact wording. In the matter of Section 45 of the Planning Act, as amended, a new comprehensive zoning bylaw 23-2018 from Section 4.16.1 to permit a reduced lot MDS1 setback from livestock facility at 4726 Watson Road South. The separate parcel would be 260 meters instead of 392 meters as required. And since there's no conditions, so it's either approved, denied, or deferred. So we'll start with you, Paul.
Approved.
Dan?
Approved.
Dennis?
Approved.
Deep?
Approved.
And I, Johnson Poulos, approve that as well. So again, it's subject to a 20-day appeal period. Great, so we're done with that one. We go to the agenda. Number 7, other matters, there are none. And we have number 8, adjournment of Committee of Adjustment at 7:29 p.m. Do I have a mover to adjourn the meeting?
I'll move
I
it.
can move it.
Okay, Deep moves it and
I'll-
second by Dan. By
Second,
Dan.
Paul.
Paul seconds it. Very good. So let's go around the table. Paul,
Approved.
Dan,
Approved.
Dennis,
Approved.
Deep,
Approved.
And I approve it as well. Thank you very much. So let's go right into the Planning and Development Advisory Committee. I'd like to call the meeting to order. As I mentioned at the start, we have one severance application, and we'll go through the roll call again. Paul Sedra,
Present.
Dan Kennedy,
Present.
Dennis O'Connor,
Present.
Pete Bassi,
Present.
John Sapulus, I'm present as well. So Lynn, do we have any disclosures of pecuniary interest?
No, Mr. Chair, we did not.
Gentlemen, you have any?
No.
No.
Thank you. Okay, so let's move into number 5, approval of minutes of January 11th, 2022. You have a mover, a seconder. Moved by Dennis, second by Dan. All in favor? Paul,
In favor?
Dan,
In favor.
Dennis,
In favor.
Deep,
In favor.
and I approve it as well. Okay, number 6, application of site plan urban design review, none. Number 7, zoning bylaw amendment, none. And number 8, land division. I'd like to mention that the committee's mandate is only to provide comments to the county's land division committee when it considers this matter for approval. And I'd like to reiterate that this meeting is audio and video recorded. And all electronic means are uploaded to municipality's YouTube page by registering to participate in the meeting. Electronic means are consented to have your likeness and comments recorded and posted on YouTube. Okay, so let's move into land division AA, severance application B118-21, also known as D10-DET. Deterco Builders Incorporated, care of Rolf Dieter, part lot 8, concession 4, municipally known as 4604 Sidewell 20 North, Township of Puslinch. Proposed severance is 34 meters frontage by 141 meters or 0.48 hectares. Vacant land proposed for rural residential use. Retained parcel is 41 frontage by 141 meters or 0.58 hectares. Existing agriculture use with existing storage building and concrete structure for both rural residential use. Portion of existing storage building to be removed. So Courtney, would you please have the owner or applicant join a panelist to present the presentation?
Thank you, Committee Chair. This is Jeff Buseman, again representing the applicant. The proposal is to split this vacant parcel into 2. That we have a parcel of 0.58 of a hectare and 0.48 of a hectare. The idea of the split is to be such that it's 2 meters clear of the existing building, so that can be in conformance with zoning. Probably the biggest challenge here is that this property is designated primary agricultural and not secondary ag, but the area functions as, I would say, more of a secondary ag area. As you can see, it's shown a little bit on this sketch that there's been 3 other parcels to the west of a similar nature that they have all been sort of split in half to allow for a new house to be constructed. The one, there was one done in 2007, another one done in 2014, another one done, the one immediately to the west was done in 2018, 2019. In all the cases, it was felt that it was at the end of the day, it was a good fit for the land that's there and good use, practical use as a sort of an infill type of a situation. So I'd be happy to answer any questions or any comments if there are any.
Okay, Lynn, were there any agency comments received on this yet?
Mr. Chair, the only comments I received were from the Township of Puslinch Fire Services Department. And they said that they had no concerns, but please be advised that the department, that they have no concerns with the proposal other than reminding the developer/owner to consider the width and weight of fire emergency vehicles when constructing driveways and planting trees around the driveway.
Okay, Lynn, likewise, were there any written comments received from the general public?
Nope, I did not receive any.
Okay, and I'll just reiterate again, if any attendees watching the hearing would like to give comments or have questions regarding the application, you are advised that your comments can be heard at the Land Division Committee when this item is brought forward. Okay, let's turn it over to the committee members to see if there's any questions of the applicant. Start with you, Paul.
Yeah, thank you. The only thing that popped out, I mean, it looks like a pretty clean severance, but I caught the primary ag, and I'm not sure, maybe the county can comment on that. But my understanding is it's within the, if it's on primary ag, it's not a hard no on severance period. Maybe I'm confusing it, but maybe we can get some insight on that.
Okay, Joanna, would you please answer the question?
Yep, through you, Mr. Chair. The prime agricultural designation doesn't permit rural residential severances within that particular designation. So, for example, this application wouldn't receive planning support for a rural residential severance within the prime agricultural designation.
Great. Yeah, that's what I wanted to.
Jeff, do you have any comments?
Yeah, that's acknowledged, it's in prime ag, and that was the situation for the other 3 severances to the west. And at the end of the day, the Land Division Committee felt that it was appropriate to approve those severances. And we just feel like this is another one in the same area, same kind of situation.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, Dan?
No, I'm fine with this. I think it makes sense for this property.
Okay, Dennis?
Yeah, just one question. I guess we're leaving because this was should be for the farmstead, that concrete structure is a fairly large manure tank. That's kind of a dangerous thing. Would they look at doing anything to remove that or protect that? Jeff, do you know?
Interesting. My client actually he says, Jeff, I want to keep that thing. I said, why do you want to keep that thing? He says, I want to make it into a neat feature. It could make a great skating rink or something like that. So I until somebody says we got to remove it, I like his creativity. So until he actually builds a house, sells it, maybe the future owner doesn't want it, but it's there now. You're right. Should it be removed? That's up to somebody to figure out. There's no specific plans other than he had some creative ideas in mind.
And unfortunately, they're a dangerous thing for something to fall into it, animals or whatever. So that would be my only concern. But other than that, it makes sense for this property. Thanks, Jeff.
Okay, Deep?
Oh, I'm good with this. Thank you.
Okay, I have one question. It's a bureaucratic question. The section 4A of the application has a weird address on it, inconsistent with the other addresses in this area. It's in the 8,000s, so whereas all these are in the
There was a change in numbering system at one time, so that could be just a simple typo in our application form. I'd have to just double check. I happen to have access to my computer file, I think. I would have to check. It's probably a typo.
Okay, fair enough. So Lynn, can you read the conditions as we have, and we'll go around the table to add any more conditions that members may have.
The conditions are that the owner satisfy all the requirements of the Township of Puslinch, financial and otherwise, including taxes paid in full, and the consent review condition clearance fee. The second one is safe access to the retained lands can be accommodated to the satisfaction of the township. Number 3 is that the owner apply for and receive zoning compliance for the lands to be retained. Number 4, that the owner enter into an agreement with the township that will allow the owner to keep the accessory structure on the property until the dwelling is completed and the owner has occupancy. One of the terms of the agreement is that the owner will be required to provide a security to the township, which will be returned to the owner once the accessory structure has been demolished. And the 5th one is if the barn located on the property is usable for keeping animals, then the owner must provide the MDS calculations to confirm that MDS separation can be met. And if MDS separation cannot be met, then the owner will be required to apply for a minor variance, and that the township will file with Secretary Treasurer of Planning and Land Division a letter of clearance for those conditions.
Okay, so let's go around the table. Paul, do you have any other comments with which to, or conditions that should be added?
No, I'm okay. I'm okay. Thank you.
Dan?
Nope, I'm good.
Okay, Dennis?
Good.
You're not concerned about the manure?
No, I think that they will. It's a responsible owner, but it is a danger. But I don't think it falls under our jurisdiction here.
Great, and I don't have any other comments as well. So I'd like to go around the table to approve, make a motion to approve the comments as read by Lynn in a second, and we'll go over and vote, go around the table, vote on them. So may I have a mover of those comments?
Yeah, I can.
Dan, second. Dennis, okay, all in favor? Paul,
In favor?
Dan,
In favor.
Dennis,
In favor.
Deep,
In favor.
and I'm in favor as well. Okay, other matters, there are none. Number 10, closed meeting, there is none. Number 11, next meeting is Tuesday, March the 8th at 7 p.m. And number 12 is adjournment, and I need a mover to adjourn the meeting at 7:41 p.m.
I'll move it, Paul.
Okay, Paul,
I'll
moving,
second it.
Deep second. Let's go around the table. Paul,
Approved.
Dan,
Approved.
Dennis,
Approved.
Deep,
Approved.
and I approve as well. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you. Have a good
Thank
night.
you. Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Enjoy the weather.